Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is James Bonanno, and I am pleased to be joined by none other than VooDoo Val today, an amazing illustrator and just artist, just all around good person. So, Val, welcome to the stream. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here to do some drawing and some animation and stuff. And I'm also especially stoked to be hanging out with you today, James. So this is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be an amazing stream. So please stick around. And thank you for joining us here on Adobe Live. If you aren't already, please make sure to subscribe to the Adobe Live YouTube channel, where you will find tons of just content chocked with knowledge from all different creators all around the world. So please subscribe, make sure to check out those videos, and you'll stay up to date on the latest streams and participate in the Adobe Live community and so much more, which Val and myself are integrated and a big part of. So make sure to check that out. And if you are joining us on Behance, Bruce, Annika, Sam, the whole gang is here. So they're here to support you today, Val, and they're here to ask as many questions as possible. I want to definitely hand it over to you because you are the expert in all things Adobe Fresco, which is, to be totally honest, brand new to me. So I'm very excited to learn from you today. If you are in the chat, make sure to send those questions. I will be moderating today to make sure that we send those to you, Val. And without further ado, why don't you just kick things off? I'm sure everyone in the chat already knows who you are. You're a big part of the Adobe Live community, but maybe just kick us off with a little intro and what you're going to be doing today.
Yeah, so my name is VooDoo Val. For those of you who might be new to Adobe Live and things, I'm an illustrator. We are going to be doing some animation. I've got a zoomed in on my little froggy boy here, which I posted as like a little preview that the froggy has formally invited everyone on social media to come hang out with us today. So this is the froggy I promised, the frog who was promised. But yeah, we're going to be diving into some illustration and stuff. We are not going to be extra spooky today, which usually is my signature. Either spooky stuff or Star Wars stuff or both is usually my wheelhouse. But we're going to get a little bit cute. But maybe we could do like cute with like a small dose of existential crisis, because we've also got, these little, they were going to be pigeons, but I think they're crows now. And they look really confused about where they're at. And then
they sort of do.
They do. They look really uncomfortable. Like, where are they supposed to be? And we've got a little creature in here. But what we're gonna do is animate our little scene. It's like a little island with a mushroom house on it. And we're gonna go over some different methods of first of all, not only just the animation, but I'm gonna do a little bit of illustration and kind of clean up my drawing here to really get things looking good, and kind of go over how I like to organize all of my different elements. So I like to clean them up, to prep them so that it's easy to navigate through your Fresco file and animate things smoothly. We are going to go over some different kinds of animations. So we're going to do some frame by frame animation today. We're also going to be doing some pretty cool stuff with path animation in Fresco, and some tips and tricks for how to add some cool movement to your illustration or images that don't take a lot of effort to do. Like, I want you guys to be able to come away from this stream knowing how to add animation to any image or file, and know that you don't have to start this gigantic journey into animation in order to create something that looks super cool.
Love that. Yeah. I think that's such a great thing for everyone to remember too, that these projects, for me, I'm already sort of overwhelmed because I've never used Fresco, but I love that idea of just teaching everyone in the stream how to just get started and not feel super overwhelmed on what you're doing. Plus, I'm just really curious how to make this little mushroom house come to life, and it's adorable. So I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I'm pumped. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw in some colors and things back here, and just to kind of give us a little starting point, because I'm going to start cleaning all this stuff up. But one of the things that I would like to point out as we go through this is I am, when it comes to my illustration style, I typically like to use the pixel brushes in Fresco, which is a good time. There's a lot of different pixel brushes and things that you can choose from, with lots of different textures and patterns and things. But when it comes to prepping a file for, kind of turning it into a finished product and making it into something that I can utilize like now for animation and stuff, what I like to do actually is use the vector brushes, because everything is very clean and crispy, so that no matter how much I zoom in, all of my lines are really crisp and perfect. Whereas as you get into like resizing things that you are painting with pixels and things, you can get a little bit of texture around the edges. And I think that as we go along, like I might, for example, if I come in, let me delete this empty layer and make a new layer. If I come in and decide I'm going to color in the shape of our little mushroom house here, and then I decide maybe later that I want it much smaller, and then I change my mind and I want it much bigger, as I start to change that to kind of create our animation here, you might start to, as you resize it over and over again, it gets a little meh, that's the only way I can really describe it. So kind of blocking in these really big shapes with the vector brushes, I think is a really great rule of thumb. So that's just what I'm going to do here, is kind of come in, and you saw I used the lasso tool there to kind of put in our sky and our water. But another thing that you can do, because vector brushes are so wonderful, if I can do just a quick little demonstration here. If I snag a pixel brush here that I think is cool, and I decide, well, maybe I want to grab like kind of a rust colored red for the cap of this mushroom, and I want to draw, under my sketch, like the shape kind of this mushroom and start building it out. If I come in with my paint bucket tool and I paint bucket in, you can see that because there's texture to these pixel brushes, there's a little, bit of artifact around the edge. That is not so with the vector brushes. So I can come in here and I can kind of come around and make our wonderful shape for our mushroom cap here. And then if I come in with my paint bucket tool, everything is perfect, nice and crispy, really easy to work with, and I love it. I love being able to work like this. So awesome. That is what I'm gonna do now, is just kind of coming around and prepping all these so that we can animate it nicely. I also have the chat open too, by the way, so we can
perfect. Okay, yeah, we'll both be monitoring that. I'm just curious. I'll probably be asking just as many questions as the chat, just because, again, Fresco is pretty new to me, and I am in no way a Photoshop expert like you are. So, are you doing all this on your iPad, or you're using your desktop? Okay.
Yeah. I'm on my iPad. I've got an iPad Pro, and I am using a screen mirroring program so that we can capture for the live stream. But normally I wouldn't be like working at my desk for this, to be perfectly honest. I like to watch Netflix or listen to audiobooks when I paint. So usually I'm like chilling on my bed or chilling in my living room or something, just kind of chipping away at projects on my iPad. And it is kind of a dream, really. Like, it works so well, and you can do so much with Fresco, and I highly recommend it to anybody who is maybe interested in doing animation or doing illustration and painting. Fresco is a really great way to do that. Really great place to start, I think.
And how long have you been using Fresco?
I have been using because I had an iPad and everything when it first came out. So basically, since Fresco was available to us, that is when I started drawing and painting. And I have to say, like, there was definitely a learning curve, sort of, because I was predominantly in Photoshop for most of the time, and it took me a little while to kind of get the hang of like Fresco versus Photoshop, because the tools are just slightly different. But now that I've been working, for a couple of years, I think I think it's been a couple of years. Now that it's been about that long, I would say more than half of my work is done in Fresco.
So cool.
Also, I'm waiting for this fill to finish filling. Maybe we can pop over to our full cam screens, and I'm gonna restart my my Fresco real quick. I'm being hard on my my iPad right now, giving it a bunch of different tasks to do.
That's how you have to do it. I feel like I push my computer, I push the Creative Cloud very, very hard, and I expect it to just work every single time, which it
and it's different when you stream too, because it, you know, like there's one thing to like do it when you are on your own, but then you know, when you broadcast, sometimes you put a little extra stress on it.
Sure.
But I wanna pop over because I'd like to. Well, maybe I could just do it. I just don't know if you guys want to see all the video games I have on my iPad desktop. So
yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can push over to where I can like kind of navigate my iPad without you guys seeing all my top secret information. I'm looking at my output screen here. I'm trying to summon Paco. Maybe to pop over. I also have, like, when I reopen my Fresco, I have some projects that are in there that I cannot show on the broadcast too. So when I reopen it, but we have some questions in chat. So I'll ask some questions and answer questions in chat. Michelle is saying, like, what do I prefer, drawing in Fresco or drawing in Photoshop? I think I prefer drawing and painting in Fresco now, honestly. And there are still things that I definitely do in Photoshop. Like sometimes I'll do a whole project in Fresco, but I will still dive back into Photoshop to do interesting things with features that's not available in Fresco. Like if I need to separate some things out in an image that I'm using, like working with color range and all of that is something that I can do in Fresco that I can't really do in other, or you know, I just can't do all that stuff in Fresco because it's predominantly drawing and painting. So I like to use some of the more intricate features in Photoshop. Sometimes I dive into Photoshop and add extra textures and things because it's easy for me to do that in Photoshop. Whereas you can actually do some of that stuff in Fresco though, because you do have access to your libraries and things. So if you have images and textures you want to bring in through your libraries, which I will do today, that's something that's also possible. But yeah, I think Fresco is predominantly my main go-to, even for client work and stuff these days. Awesome. I do most things in Photoshop or in Fresco. All right. Yeah, you go ahead.
Guys, we're just going to take a 2 to 5 minute break here. We're just going to try to fix some of these complications with Fresco, and we will be right back. Stick around.
And we're back.
We're back. 5 minutes. It was more like 10 seconds, but we're back.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Here's our mushroom house.
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of grab, I guess we don't have to do that with the lasso tool. I'm just going to grab my brush again. And I want to grab like I kind of want to do a color green that's like related to that, but darker than our, maybe not darker, but separated from our grass here. Just like a little shape.
Where'd you get the inspiration for this little scene here? Was that just something that you put together for the stream, or had you been inspired by something else that you saw?
I did have a little bit of inspiration for it because I love using Pinterest, and I had a like a little Pinterest board that was just like filled with tons of cute little houses for like little animals, like little cat houses and stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do something that is not going to be like wildly intricate for the stream, but will also be like kind of funny just because I thought it would be fun. And I started zooming around on Pinterest looking for like the perfect project, and I landed on my previously stored reference for something like this. It was like, I think this is it. And I was like, it would be also great if I could, make a little froggy friend. So I put him in there, and I was like, well, I don't want him to be lonely, so we're gonna have to make like a little mushroom for him to like live in, and he's gonna have to have like little friends. And I thought it would make more sense for them to be seagulls, but then I was like, it's funnier if they're crows because then their terrified eyes stick out. So it kind of just developed.
I love it. I love it. They look like the happiest crows I've ever seen. Like I big bird guy, but crows are not the bird that I would choose. But I love that. I love that those are the birds that you chose.
Thank you. I might also have something to do with I watch as well as like listening to music and audiobooks and stuff when I work. I also watch a lot of movies, and the Edgar Allan Poe movie came out recently on Netflix, and so I was like, at some point I'm gonna paint some crows. That's definitely something I'm gonna do. So I also had a bunch of reference of like crows,
Love that.
and I was like, maybe we'll just do that. I'm in a crow mood. Also, just to clarify what I'm doing here, I am pulling, because it looks like my little frog guy got mixed in with my notes here. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to cut him out, and then I'm going to paste so he's on his own layer right here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take all of these little illustrations and things that I have done, and I'm going to start clipping them into my my piece. So what I mean by that is I can take this guy out and put him up here. And I am going to go ahead and I'll use my lasso tool, and I'm going to cut this out right here. So
you're essentially clipping out the pieces that you're going to animate into vectors.
Exactly. So I cut that out, and then I will paste, if I can paste. Oops, I hit cut again. There we go. So now we'll cut and paste, and that'll be on its own layer. And then I'm going to take this and clipping mask that into our little rooftop shape there. And then we have Liquify in Adobe Fresco now, so I can come in with Liquify, and I'm just going to kind of move this over to like the edges, because my shape that I drew new isn't like the exact shape of my drawing. But this just allows me to kind of like have, now this is one solid thing. So now if I come here, I could group all this. Let's do like select multiple and group that. Now this is its own thing, and it's got the artwork attached to it. So I've got my color and everything, and I just kind of alter like that so that I've got everything going. And we can come back into like my sketch here, and I just used the brush, like the standard brush that is on right when you dive into Fresco. It should be, I think it's actually might be the, let's see, dry media. It's the one like right when you open Photoshop or Fresco, excuse me. It has like this sketchy brush that's like already selected. I wonder if I can go into recent. It'll probably be in recent. Yeah, pencil.
And I imagine you can, the same way you can in Photoshop and Illustrator, like you can load your own brush packs.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Fresco, right?
Oh yeah. I've actually pulled in a lot of my brushes that I love to use from Photoshop into Fresco. And I've made some custom brushes I thought would be fun to use in Fresco and brought them in. But yeah, also a quick tip as you're like editing stuff. What I've done here is I'm using that brush to erase some of the sketches and stuff that I've done here. And I've just done that by double tapping my little guy here, a little touch shortcut. So if I double tap, then I can erase with that brush. And if I exit out of that, I can come back. I'll go to black and paint with it. So when you erase, you can erase with the same texture. So there's our little roof top, which that's good enough for me. I'm going to try not to be entirely too precious with the illustration portion because we do need to get into some illustration. But I'll do the same thing here with the bottom of our little house here. I want to clip that, and I want to liquify and kind of make sure that goes to the edge of our illustration. Gonna bring that around.
Sam was asking if you have any favorite brushes that are not the ones that you've created, but any ones that are your favorites that are already in Fresco. So
yeah. So you can favorite brushes. So I have a problem where you go into my favorites and there's like tons of stuff in here. I would say the ones that I use the most though are, I use the Belgian comics a lot. I use, let's see, what's one that I use? I use this one, Kyle named it Big Boy. So I use the Big Boy. I use Kyle's Inkbox brushes a lot, and I also use the Kyle's Drawing Box graphite stick a lot. So those are some of the ones that I really love to use, and I highly recommend diving in and messing around with the awesome brushes that Kyle has created, because they are so worth it. So worth it. And I might actually, if I want to come in here, I might do this to convert that to pixel and kind of liquify that to the edge there as well. All right, so now we have like 2 layers that are specifically, you know, I think that they're pretty clean as far as them being their own separate things now. And I think normally if I had more than an hour and a half to kind of go in and really make things fine detailed and everything, that I would put maybe a little more effort into cleaning up my sketches and stuff. But I think that this is kind of a good rule of thumb or a good starting place for anyone who's like kind of diving into this, and it doesn't have to be a perfect painting so much, because what I really want to show is how to animate it all so that you can make a cool thing with it. So I'm just going to throw in our little chimney miminy in there, and I might add some dark. That's how you say chimney, right?
Yeah, that's chimney miminy. That's kind of how I speak in general. I just roll words together.
Glad I'm not the only one.
No, I'm with you.
James is really, I think is my kind of weird, because, and maybe I can, as we kind of go about this, I could tell everybody how we met for the first time, because I just had the wonderful pleasure of meeting James when we went to Adobe Max. And I was a little bit nervous because I saw him walking towards the Adobe Live booth at Adobe Max. And I was like, that's James Bonanno. I know who that is. And then I started dancing. I was voguing. And then he was walking at me and I was like, he's not dancing. And then I was like, why did I expect that he would start dancing to me? Why did I expect that he would do this? This is a weird thing to be doing. And then I was like, are you James Bonanno? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm VooDoo Val. And he was like, oh, hey. And I was like, oh no. And then I was like, where's Anna? And he was like, oh, she's over there. She wanted to meet you. And I was like, cool. And then as I walked over to meet Anna, I was like, don't dance. You can't expect that people will dance with you. And then within 15 seconds, I was doing it again.
Yeah. But that's like the best. That's the best way to meet somebody. And honestly, the entire time we were at Max, the first like day, I think we were there, I'm like, I got to meet VooDoo Val. Like, I know she's going to be here. And I remember seeing you and I kind of was like, I think that's VooDoo Val. You know, like it's weird when we only know each other through Adobe Live and Behance and all those things. So it was kind of funny. And then, I feel like that was the perfect way to break the ice of meeting in person. Cool. And in any other situation, I would have been dancing there.
Just dancing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, just dancing.
I wasn't sure. And then I was like, Val, you should just shake people's hands when you meet them for the first time. You should just, because you guys were really chill, but I was like, I could have started shimmying at someone who really wasn't into the shimmy, and maybe I should watch that. But luckily it turned out great. And I ended up, Anna danced with me immediately. She was like, I know.
Yes. Oh yeah. She knows what's good.
So we did it. It was great.
Hey, life is too short not to dance when you meet people for the first time. And honestly, like I'm usually on the end of being the goofy, weird person that Anna's like, oh, what are you? Just be normal for a few minutes.
Be a regular guy, James.
Like, I'm not a regular guy. I like to be weird. So I get it. I get it.
I'm gonna hide our little sketch here while I put in his crazy eyes. I made him red. I don't know if we want a different color. Does anybody in chat want to suggest a different color for our froggy boy?
Yeah, what do we think here, gang?
Yeah, you guys can immediately change the color. I thought it would be cool to have it red because the little mushroom cap is red. But if red is not acceptable and you guys think it would be better a different color, feel free to place a request for different frog color.
We are in Val's world right now. We're just, we're living in it, but this is a shared mushroom commune.
Yes, so, this is 100%.
We're thinking purple, Bruce.
Purple?
Yeah, it seems like there's purple or mint green.
It's almost like everyone knows me and knows that I wanted to make it purple, but decided to refrain.
Did you just talk to people ahead of time and you're like, hey, I'm going to just pose a question and that's going to be the color we're going to go with, but it'll make it seem like I don't know?
I can neither confirm nor deny any team working the colors I wanted with our chat at this time.
Purple, purple. I'm game for purple. I'd like to see it. We have purple with orange spots. We have purple with pink and mint spots, and then we have camouflage. So there's a lot of got a lot of options here.
I think that we could probably do let's do like a purple, and I want to find like a purple that could look cool with our little scene. So I'm going to sample like this color, and then I'm going to bump it to purple so that it's all kind of like the same value. He looks so upset. He looks way more upset,
very sad,
than the original sketch. And I'm a little sad because I want, he needs to be, hold on, let's see. Let me match our sketch to this a little bit better, because I feel like he needs to be still, I need him to look, I don't even know what this expression is called. What is this expression called?
Is that like it's kind of, I don't know. He looks slightly angry, but he's frowning. So he's kind of, I don't know, really pensive.
He looks like if you didn't know him, he'd be really uncomfortable, but this is his normal.
Right. Like he could be very cool and have a great personality. But when you look at him, you wouldn't normally think that. Maybe maybe we're starting to build some character development here that we're not realizing.
This is his content face, but you'd never know it. That's, I don't want anybody to be worried about our buddy here. But
now I have a question for you. When you're creating scenes like this with different characters, are you consciously thinking of names in your head, even though you may not necessarily need to give them a name? I'm weird and I name things that aren't even shouldn't even be named, so that's just
I wouldn't say that I think of names for them, but I definitely do their voices in my head. And so this guy, I do have, it's funny you ask, because he already has a voice, and the sound that he makes is so yeah, exactly. So I wasn't sure if that was, kind of the route we were going to go with the stream, but now that you've given me permission to talk about the voices, I think
it almost seems like that's the only sound he would actually make. Like he would just and then he would just answer every question in that sound.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I think I'm going to give him a little eye shiny. I think he needs an eye shiny. Let's do like a little, I think he needs eye shinies.
Ooh, I like eye shiny, yeah.
So that he can, that's cute. I think that works. Let's go ahead and group those together. Select multiple, boom.
Oliver in the chat said, the frog definitely looks like a Terrence.
Oh my gosh! His name is Terrence.
It's Terrence.
Some of my family members are watching today, and one of their names is Terrence.
Me too. My uncle's name is Terrence. So
all right,
we're naming this frog Terrence. It's happening.
100%. Right. This is a tribute to the Terrences of the world.
I love it. I love that someone else also feels that way. Like you can just look at this and know this is what the name is. It's this. you know?
You cannot deny now that this is the face of a Terrence.
A Terrence.
So 100%. This is going to be great, and I can't wait to see how he feels about this Terrence frog.
I wonder if that stems from Terrence and Phillip. It almost sounds like that sound was like, oh, this is the Terrence and Phillip show.
He's not Canadian, so
He's
no.
Not, no. So good.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, just added a little bit so that our little, this is a chimney, by the way. It is I promise it's a chimney. Okay, so if I select this and merge that, I think we need our little lily pad kind of thing. It's kind of a lily pad, sort of. That's sort of what that was. And I feel like what I'm also going to do, and this is kind of a trick that I like to do sometimes when it comes to painting things for animation. So when I don't want to hide that. I want to open it. Oh, okay. This is something that you have to remember. I have this double tapped. And so some of my gestures and things that I'm doing are different. So I need to make sure that if you double tap your touch shortcut to do other things, make sure that you remember to turn it off. Otherwise, when you go to open your folders and stuff, that double tap will actually hide and unhide things, not open them. So I'm going to bring him out, and I'm going to over the top of this guy. Let's actually throw that in there. There we go. Let's bring this underneath, and it looks like I also need to bring this guy out here and put it on top of our house. There we go. All right, so we've got like kind of our little lily pad thing going on here, and I think that I am going to darken the inside of the house, and then we're going to make it move, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it should be fun.
I think I want to see how this house will move. I kind of have an idea in my head of how I envision it moving, but I'm so curious to see what you do with it.
So I have left myself some little notes, and this is something that I highly recommend doing. Honestly, whether you're animating or what, I think that leaving notes for yourself in your illustration projects is a really great thing to do, because sometimes you might not be doing everything all in one sitting. Sometimes you might, be kind of hesitant to do certain things, and you need to be able to kind of reference a little bit ideas. I write in my files all the time, and then I remove my notes later, and it helps because I feel like I keep my eye on all the possibilities that really could come to pass in my file, rather than just thinking to myself, oh, when it comes time to do that, I'll remember to do that. Spoiler alert, I never remember to do that. I never do. Never, ever do.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so now we have all of our little pieces of our house separated. We need to, I think it would be cool if because one thing that you can do, this is kind of the little tricky trick thing I wanted to do, is if I want all this stuff to be like warmer, I could make a layer, like paint bucket a layer in to change things and throw that on well, that actually looks kind of cool. That's with the orange background. Yeah. Kind of do something like that and then animate everything under it. But another thing you could do is, if we hide that, is we could just put an adjustment layer here and we go to like color balance. And maybe I want something a little more greenish, just to alter our colors just a little bit. Cool. We go into our highlights, because I'm not sure if I'm sold on all these colors. I think it looks kind of meh. I think it needs some love, honestly. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. But I also think
I like that idea of going a little bit warmer, almost as if it's kind of it's almost that like early morning in the swamp with the mushroom house, and so you're sort of somewhere in the middle right now, it seems like.
Yeah, I wonder if we could also try doing like a hue and saturation, which is that's a little crazy. I don't know. I almost like I like the color, but I think we'll we'll figure it out as we go along. Sure. It might just be that my house needs to change, and you can do this with another adjustment layer. If we go to color balance and then clip it to the group of the house, we could just change the house.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's always, I feel like it's always tough on streams because you're working through it, and it never looks exactly the way that the first version looked.
Yeah. And also I think that there's also some a little bit of hesitancy too, because whenever you're broadcasting, at least I don't know how you feel, but I feel like this all the time. It's like I'm broadcasting, and there's the element of like, if I don't do this right the first time, people are going to think I can't draw.
Yeah. Yep.
100%.
Yeah, I've just kind of become accustomed to knowing that I will at some part of a stream mess up and just have to roll with it and know, hey, we're trying to teach what we do, and none of us are perfect. We may, we have knowledge to share, but I think that's what's fun about Adobe Live is the community gets to decide maybe which direction you go in, and it has to sort of take you in a different way than you initially thought. But I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. And I think that also I'm going to make him orange, and we'll put like purple spots on him, because I think the orange it's a little saturated right now, but I think the orange might end up being a little better for the overall look. And then what I could also do is because one thing is a lot of these colors are flat. So if I want to like make something a little bit brighter, I could come in and brighten it up a little bit. So let's go into favorites, and you remember that time I said that we weren't going to spend too much more time doing this step, and we were going to move into this happens. Luckily, I think that the animation in Fresco, I've got to say, is not, it's not so wild and crazy that like you need hours and hours really to do the animation in it. So I think that we can still get everything done if I just do a little more.
I feel like this is so I mean, you do have an hour too, but I also think it's so important. I find myself just as a video creator and not an illustrator wanting to get into animating immediately. And I find that sometimes if I have to create an asset for myself, whether it be an illustration or some sort of vector file, like I rush through that stage so that I can get to the animation. But really, the animation's only as good as the object you're animating too. So you have this amazing illustration that really comes to life when you put the work into it on the front end of making it pop.
Yeah, and I think that too, if you, like you said, like sometimes the animation is only as good as your assets, because if things just don't look good together and you kind of have these colors that are like a little bit garish maybe, and it's not really vibing super well, sometimes that really influences not only like the end product, but it also influences heavily the confidence that you have in your own project. So I'm not really liking the colors very much, and so I'm having a hard time like really taking my own project seriously, which is another reason why I never add eyes to my portraits that I paint until the end, because when I first sketch in eyes to a character, I always think it looks really derpy and bad. And if my character has like bad, like weird eyes while I'm trying to paint the rest of it, I can't take it seriously. I will I have to put the eyes in later.
That's such an interesting workflow, but a little something that, is part of your whole process that I think is really interesting.
Thank you. Sometimes you have to figure out what it is that gives you confidence when you paint, and just go with it. Right. I think that I will leave this. I think we're gonna animate with this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create kind of a bouncing animation for our little frog, and then we can come in maybe later at the end and really kind of blend some of this stuff together a little bit better. But right now I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to merge this group, merge layers in group, because if I want to change the color, I can always do that with adjustment layers later. And I would like to use a path animation just to make him, I want him to like kind of hover in the water,
like a little bob.
Yeah, like he's just chilling, you know,
Sure.
next to his little mushroom house. So we're gonna bring him down here maybe, and I'd like for him to kind of, yeah, like a little something like that.
Cool.
So let's go ahead, and I am going to open my animation stuff, which is just this little button down here in the bottom right above the ruler there. So we're going to grab that, and I'm going to come in with the path, and I'm just going to do a little circle, draw a little circle. So he just like does this little tiny circular motion. So he's kind of bobbing. And I might want to add, if we can make it a little smoother. There we go. So he just kind of bobs there, which is kind of neat. And it's just his little head sticking out of the water. So what we're also going to do is we're going to do some frame animations of like some ripple lines in the water coming emanating out from his neck there. So it looks like he's really bobbing around. So this is pretty cool. And that works for me. And you could add a bunch of all these effects on the side here, but we don't need that for this. We are going to, however, need that for other places in the animation. So we're just going to leave this for now. And this looks fine. So let's go ahead and close that. And then on another layer, let's make another layer underneath him. Boom. Let's do like a frame animation. So I am going to grab, like, I'm thinking maybe a lighter blue color. Actually, let's do a darker blue first of all, and let's draw like a little shadow in the water for him. Boom. So he's got like, you know, his little his body's under there, you know, there's something sitting in the water here, so that no matter where because remember his head's going to move around, and so we want there to be something static underneath that shows that he's there.
Right.
So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring that over there. Boom. So he's right on top of this little water shadow. And then above that, I'm going to grab a harder brush. And I'm thinking, let's go into recent. Can I just say, whoever's idea it was to put the recent folder in Fresco has saved my artist's life and my artist's soul so many times, because I have so many brushes in Fresco, and I'm like, how do I find that brush that I want? Like, I was just looking for that one brush earlier, the pencil default that it starts with, and I was like, where do I go? Oh yeah, I should go to recent, and it shows you all the brushes that you used during this project, during this file, and it's different for each file. So if you have one project open that you use completely different brushes for, you can always go and look at what you used for that. But I'm gonna grab, I think, the Kyle's ink box brush, and I'm gonna grab a lighter blue. Let's grab like a lighter blue here. And I'm going to draw little water ripple lines.
Love that.
Like this. I'm not going to be crazy with it.
And so for this specific thing, I guess kind of a two-part question. For the animation part of everything that you're doing in Fresco, does it operate differently than After Effects, where it's not really keyframe based, it's more like path based, and it almost seems like sort of a global, you're basically just animating the path. Can you still like keyframe animate in Fresco, or is that not?
There's no keyframes, gotcha. But what we're gonna do for this one is like a little wiggle vision with frames. So you could do frame by frame stuff, gotcha, instead of just like drawing the path, which the path is really fun, because since I don't do a lot of keyframing kind of stuff, that's, you know, like a part of animation that really eludes me. And it seems really daunting. And I'm sure one of these days I'll test it out and I'll maybe get the hang of it in another program. But for now, not so much. And being able to do something like this in Fresco, where I can use my drawing skills to kind of achieve a really cool vibe with my illustration, is just really nice. And the frame specifically, when I talk about like wiggly lines, is really interesting, because all I have to do here is I'm going to draw what I just drew like a handful of times and then play it through with the path animation. So I can have different layers that are paths, different layers that are frames, and do all kinds of stuff, and it'll just play all together from each layer at the same time. So right now I'm just going to press that plus button. You can see now I have 2 frames here. And what I want to do is come in and turn onion skin on, so that when I flip to this other frame, it shows like a faint outline of where that is. And in fact, I'm going to actually hide this so that I can see that a little bit better. So yeah, see, look, I've got my frame. And then when I go to the next one, you can see the outline of what's there. And I can come in with my brush and we're just going to paint it again. But all the times that I paint this, it's never going to be exactly the same.
Ah, I see.
So
that
when
it's
we
like
play
moving
it,
slightly.
yeah. So when we play
Cool.
it, it's going to be a little bit wiggly and it'll give it a little bit of motion. And I think this is something that you can do, for a lot of different projects, whether you're working with illustration or images or whatever, that adds a little bit of like wiggly motion to things without really having to put so much effort into it. This is also something that you can use, like if you're making illustrations or just like title text for a video, like what you might use in one of your videos, James. You could write the title and then have like 6 frames where you've written it so it just kind of jiggles, a little bit, and put that on for your video, whatever you want to do. But this allows me to kind of get a little bit of movement, and then we're going to see.
This is actually something that I am debating teaching in After Effects in kind of a different way next week on Monday, and it's something that I've done in previous projects where I'm doing essentially what you're doing here, but you're using the paint tool on each frame, so you can kind of paint different lines or different whatever, just have fun with it. And each frame you paint sort of a different part of the scene, and it makes it look like there's someone painting on your video as it's being played.
And
so it's a very similar approach. I think it's really cool that you're using it in this way in Fresco, to still highlight what it is that you're passionate about and really good at, and not feel like you're having to put too much effort into keyframing and learning the After Effects world too.
Well, thank you. And I would love to see you do like your own sort of approach to a similar kind of animation. I think that would be really eye-opening, really, to see the different approaches to it. But I'm going to go ahead and play all this because we've got the animation for that and we've got the animation for our little guy moving around. So let's see if it looks crazy or if it looks good. Let's go ahead and play it all. Oh, it's very fast.
But
we need to slow down our frames.
Cool. It's cool.
I like where it's going. What I want to do is select select our little animations here, and I'm just gonna kind of move this over because he doesn't move as much as I thought he would. And let's go ahead and hit done, and then let's come into our frames here, go into settings, and let's bump this down to like a 3 for our frame animation there. And then let's see.
Oh,
that's okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's getting there. I might add a little more. Yeah, I think I like it more at like 6.
Right.
And then I want to, let's pause and let's snag this guy and this guy. And I'm going to bring it down even more, like right here. And then
so done. Fun.
Boom. So we got like our little dude, and he's hovering
Love that.
He's hovering in his little area right here. He's just taking a little dip,
He is.
Having a good time.
I love
that. One thing that I actually want to see if I can do, because I just had an idea. I just realized one of the things that might be throwing us off about our general artwork here today is that the blacks for the like the dark black in our sketches is like really, really crazy. So I wonder if I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to come in and do a fancy thing that I like to do sometimes, and that is I'm going to lock the transparency on the sketchy layer here, and I'm going to grab a brush. I want to grab like a big brush that is going to be, I'm going to be able to paint like a whole area with. Maybe this hard pastel will work. And I'm going to grab a color pertaining to this red of our piece here, maybe something darker, and I'm going to color in my sketch and kind of bring some of that dark color out a little bit. And we could even maybe let's grab some of this yellow and then a brighter yellow. Yeah, and then we can start. So the transparency on it is locked, so I have my sketch layer there, and it's only allowing me to paint on the pixels on that layer that are already present at the time I turn it to lock transparency. So I can
Gotcha.
come in and change this up a little bit. And I think that looks cool. It kind of brings in some of the yellow of the sky a little bit. Maybe we can add some of this bright yellow color to our frog at some point. And because I've got everything like locked transparency and moved around the way it is, where everything is like grouped and clipped to each other, I can always come in and alter my illustration as I see fit if I have new ideas or something like I just did, and change things around.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a huge point of working here in Fresco for you is if you were doing animation in After Effects, like you'd constantly be going back to either Illustrator or Photoshop and then coming back into After Effects and working back and forth, or maybe you'd be touching up those shapes inside of After Effects, whereas like here in Fresco you can add your little animation, you can continue to add things and do it all in this one program.
Yeah.
And you do a really amazing job. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this before, but you do a really amazing job making me at least feel like a kid again, and having such like you have so much fun creating these things. And I mean, obviously you're here to teach, but I think the thing that a lot of people will overlook is just how much fun you're having doing it. And I can clearly see that in your work and also just in the stream today. So
Thank you
kudos
so
to
much.
enjoying what you do, because it definitely shows.
I really appreciate that. I think that you got to have fun with it. You know, you have to have a good time. I don't know that it's worth it if you're not, having a blast, really. And I also would like to highlight too, as much as it, like, to be perfectly honest, as much as it kind of embarrasses me a little bit to like sometimes be on the stream and not exactly certain like what colors I'm using and everything, is to try as have as much fun as I can, like figuring it out. Because I think that a lot of us maybe are a little too hard on ourselves when it comes to trying to get everything right the first time. And I don't know about you, but like I said earlier, I actually have a lot maybe a lot more anxiety about it than I let on when I'm broadcasting. But I have anxiety about it because I think for a lot of years I didn't know how to have fun with my work because I was always worried about it not being good enough for other people. And I thought that if I was struggling and I didn't have all the answers to know exactly what color am I going to make this mushroom cap or whatever, especially if I was broadcasting, I very often felt like if I didn't have those answers and I didn't look like I did it as flawlessly as other people, that maybe that meant that I just wasn't good at it. And so I try to have fun. I'm glad that you are having fun with me. And I try to point out the moments when I realize I have to go back and change something because I'm not happy with this, or try to be as open about making changes and the fact that you can change your mind about stuff mid-project and all of that as I can. So if you folks at home feel like that when you work, you don't feel bad about it.
No, I mean, there's two sides of it. Obviously, this is your career too, and doing it as a profession, while it's easy to get caught up in the, okay, I need to do this for a client, or like this is what they want. They're still hiring you as the artist, and I think that's something that we as artists, I as a filmmaker and photographer, often overlook and forget. Like, man, my younger self would be so just thrilled to know, wow, you're getting to do this thing that you love, that you did in like art class or you did in school, and you get to do it for a living and get to teach people about it. So I always try to find that balance, and you definitely have it. And I'm sure other people in the stream feel that way and watching your videos, that if they are working professionally as an illustrator, it should be fun. It should just, it brings that inner child out in everyone, I think.
There's always going to be those times, where like, a job's a job's a job, and sometimes you got to get that work done, even if you can't stand to look at the hand you've been painting for 16 hours.
Yep, 100%.
It happens, but you got to find those little moments where you can. Sometimes it's having a good time with little animations, and sometimes it's making your frog make noises. Sometimes, just sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Before you continue, Val, I just want to, we got about 30 minutes left in the stream, so I'm gonna let you keep doing your thing, but for those that are watching, while we're on the topic of creatives and artists in this space, if you would like to nominate yourself or someone else to be on Adobe Live or to be a guest, submit your recommendations in the creative tab on Behance, and the team will review them. And just if you have something to share and you want to get your work on here, it's a really great platform to do it. So highly, highly encourage everyone to get involved in this community, because it's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, please do. I have to say, I think that just in case there's folks in the chat who maybe are worried that they can't do it, or maybe that they shouldn't, because I know that feeling, like when someone's like, hey, you know, submit people here, and you kind of think like, can I nominate myself? You know, but if you don't know if anyone will nominate you and you want it really bad, nominate yourself, guys.
Sure.
Be your own hype man, okay?
100%. You have to.
Do it. Yeah. And so if you're sitting there wondering like, I don't know, Val, nominate yourself if you want to. You can. We want to hear from you.
I love that.
All right, so we've done a little bit more with the illustration. It's looking kind of cool. We've
awesome.
got our little guy here, and then we need to put in our little birds, right? We need to put in our little birds.
Yeah, bring them back. We forgot about the crows. We got to bring those.
James in the back of the crowd.
Bring them back. Come on. Where did they go?
Bring back the birds.
I wanted to see the pigeons.
I want the pigeons. Okay. We're going to maybe they can be pigeons. Maybe we can give them like a slight like grayish purple hue. I don't know. But what we're gonna do is let's snag my Inkbox brush again, and I'm gonna grab like maybe this dark green would be fine. And I'm going to draw in a bird. And we're gonna make his little legs, like we're gonna make him crouch up and down, so he's like, and we're gonna make his knees bend, which I think is gonna be hilarious. So let's put in.
He's just doing like squats all day.
Exactly, that's all he does. He's out here. He's out here every day is leg day.
Every day is leg day. Even though he'll probably have like the smallest legs ever. He just like, it just doesn't work for me, but I'm doing it.
I might actually use a vector brush for this. So let's go ahead and put in his little legs. Those are going to be his legs. They're going to be very stick leg type legs, and we're going to put them in here. So he's just going to be standing. And then we got to do his little body. So his little body, we're going to give him a little round bottom. And I'm just going to, I scribbled. So now I have all these little tiny places I got to fill in. Come on. And then we're gonna bring his little head up.
Honestly, like this is even better. I'm sure you've played Telestrations before, or those.
No, I haven't.
Oh man, you'd be just way too good at it. But it's basically like a charades, but for drawing.
Oh, okay, all right.
And everyone in my family makes fun of me because when I play it, all of a sudden I forget all of the essential fundamentals that I learned in art class in like second grade, and I cannot. People are like, what is that? And I'm watching you draw this crow, and I'm like, that's already better than anything that I would have done in Telestrations.
I want to point something out though, just so you don't feel so bad. So there's this, I don't know if there's any fans in the chat of Jackbox, like party games that you can play with your friends. Okay. There is a game that you can play in Jackbox that is like a drawing game where you design t-shirts. It's for like illustrators to play. You design you have like 2 minutes to design a hilarious t-shirt, and then you battle people in those t-shirts. And there's actually an option which I think is hilarious to like have the t-shirts you designed during this game mailed to you.
Oh my god,
which is really funny. But for whatever reason, every time I play this game, it's like I'd never picked up a pencil in my life, James. And people are like, where is your drawing? And I'm like, sometimes I am like embarrassed, and I don't want them to know which one was mine, because I even play Jackbox on my iPad sometimes. And I have a stylus. can't do it. If you give me
No.
2 minutes to
Yeah.
design, I'm so hung up on the details. Other people who've never drawn for a living ever in their life and haven't picked up like a stylus and they're just like drawing on their phones are infinitely funnier than mine because I'm overthinking the whole time.
Yeah. That's, I mean, and I can see that being a little crutch for a professional artist like that. Whereas I go in there and I'm like, this is going to be awful. It's just going to be absolutely terrible. So I have nothing to lose,
Yeah.
Except my dignity.
Sometimes it be that way. Sometimes it be that
Yeah.
way. I think I like putting it. I don't know if I really don't like the little the white for the wings, but I kind of like these details. I kind of like him looking like that, I think. I feel like he needs more tail feather, but there.
That's so cute.
It almost looks like a saddle.
Yeah,
I don't
it's kind of
know.
does. It's like he could, if you just blew him up, he's a horse all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Or he's like
yeah.
a camel.
We could just like
He's just a camel on a mushroom.
he's just hanging out. He's back here. He's back here peeking. He's not allowed to be this big. I mean, he could be that big. We could put him up there like that. Maybe. I wonder if we
he and Terrence are just buddies now.
Yeah, they're good friends. I wonder what it would be like if we took our brush and we made like, I want to just try this out real quick. I want to know what would happen if, come on, make my brush larger. Thank you. I want to just throw this color over here and I want to clip this. Let's go ahead and clip that because that can be clipped. And we're going to clip this because that could be clipped. And I just want to see what would happen if we, oh, you know what? It might look better orange. But I wonder if there's one that will transform. Oh! I don't know if that's what we want.
Oh, that's kind of...
Now he's a rooster. I don't know.
Yeah, I know he went from a crow. It seems like there's some pretty passionate people in the chat about it being a crow. I really don't want to... I don't want to crush everybody's dreams, so...
We won't spoil any dreams here. Yeah. It will be a crow. Maybe the blue. Maybe it looks kind of cool with blue. Yeah. And I could just... That's kind of... No, we're not going to do any colors. We're going to have a black and white crow up here. And maybe I'll come in later and do some cool... colors. I probably will after the show like change up some of the colors here, but I'm not gonna force myself to do that right now. So now let's go ahead. I think I'm going to merge all that and we're gonna animate this.
Sweet. Little crow buddy up here about to get his squats on.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and turn onion skin on so I can see him. And one thing that we might do is, okay, we've turned onion skin on, but I think, hold on, let's go ahead. I'm going to go back. We're going to actually click our layer and we're going to say duplicate frame instead of make a new frame because I don't want to start from scratch with this. And then we are going to go ahead and alter this. So let's go. I'm so
curious to see how this happens.
We can use Liquify because Liquify is our friend. So I am going to... Now there's a lot of ways we could do this. We could have his knees both bend front ways, but I think it's better if his knees bend in opposite directions to each other. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and transform this and we are going to liquify and I am going to just make this weird. So let's go ahead. Let's make this smaller.
So I'm just going to... a little dance.
Yeah, and I like to, so the first Liquify, especially if I use Liquify with the animating, is it's going to look odd. It's going to look really weird when I do it. But I kind of sketch over it afterwards. So let's go ahead and deselect. But this just allows me to move things into place. So I'm not starting over from scratch and like kind of warping things or trying to draw them and make it look like it goes together.
Yeah, and clearly the idea here is that your anchor point really is like the joints between the thigh and the ankle, I guess. And so you're keeping those, maybe you alter them a little bit, but in liquefying those sections, you're changing them a little bit.
I think in order to do this properly, he really should not have what just happened to our... Oh, there we go. Okay. What just happened to our layer. Okay, there we go. So we want, there's his legs go out, but I think what we really need to do is to not have him have any feet, because I think his feet pointing in a certain direction make it weird. Once the feet go away, or once the knees open. So we're gonna remove that, and then I'm gonna sketch on top here. We're gonna add to this layer. We should be able to add to the, yes, if I just make my brush a little larger. So we'll add so that his legs just kind of go there we go. And
you can add to that because it's still within that
the frame
that you're animating there. Gotcha.
So, but we also kind of want to move him down. We want him to come down. So, because otherwise, also as we bend, and that it's like his legs get longer to do that bend.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. So we're gonna we're gonna transform just this frame. So if you try to transform a frame, it'll ask you if you want to do all frames or just the one frame. We want to transform just the one frame, and I'm just gonna squash him down.
Yeah. Squish him on down there.
Yeah. And say done, and then let's. So he bobs. Let's go ahead and turn onion skin off so we can see it.
Almost like he's doing the chicken dance or something.
Yeah. And I think that's hilarious. So he's got like that looks like he's bouncing. It looks like he's bouncing up and down
very
there.
Very much.
It looks cool, and I feel like we could even do another. Let's go ahead and let's duplicate this second frame here, and I'm gonna put that right there. And then I'm going to duplicate that one.
So in that case, to make it continuously loop, you would just duplicate the frames and then like drag them out, or is there a way
you can let's see, you can tell it to boomerang or loop. Okay. But I want to duplicate it because I want to alter these frames. So here I'm going to leave that last one the same, but this middle one where he comes back up, I'm going to actually paint over the eyeball. And I am going to put one single little blink in here. So we'll grab this, and I need a really clean brush here, like hard round variable.
So his facial expression is going to change when he drops it low.
Yeah. Well.
Nice.
Yeah. So he goes like that, and then we'll put this on. Let's put this on boomerang. No, let's put it on loop. And let's.
Oh my god, that's great.
Too much, bro.
That's pretty good.
And he kind of blinks every once in a while.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
How are we doing on time, by the way?
Yeah, I feel like I wanted more. You got about 20 minutes till we wrap. So you probably got about, I would say, 18 minutes of working time.
Okay, cool. And then let's go ahead and I'm gonna put a little shadow under him real quick because I think this would be funny. Let me go to recent so I can find where all my stuff is that I want. Yes, there we go. And I'm gonna just put a little tiny shadow underneath him so that he looks like he's supposed to be there. I don't know, it looks like his feet disappeared into the mushroom, but I mean, there's a mushroom. Yeah, there's a dancing crow sitting on top of a mushroom house floating on an island owned by Terrence the Frog. So if you want to complain about, the immersion being broken because he doesn't have any legs, I would ask you if that's the only problem you see with the situation here.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's questioning the realism here. Oh my god!
So now we got so it's come together. He's doing his little. I like to imagine that like they're good friends, but the bird is like the crow is way too hypey for the frog. So 100%. He was inside taking a nap, and he's like, the bird is doing the thing again, and so now he's just lazing around in the water because the bird's tap dancing and voguing on top of the house.
Yeah, Terrence has just had enough. They're roommates in this mushroom, and they're like, if I have to deal with him one more time, one more dance, I tell you,
can't do it.
Yeah, whatever this crow's name is.
I'm also gonna, let me see. I feel like because the crow has white details, we kind of need to add that in a little bit. And I'm not gonna do it over the whole thing, but I think I'm gonna grab the soft round variable. And for anyone who, Somebody told me I could do this. I could actually make my handy dandy noise brush in Fresco by going to the soft round variable
Yeah, that's a lot
brush.
of words.
And then I can turn it the brush settings onto a dissolve blend mode so that I can come in with my basically like a noise brush, like so.
Cool.
Which is fun. So I think I'm gonna do like a little bit of brightness up here just so that it looks like there's other white in the, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly. One thing I will say when it comes to doing this stuff is please never think that if you start adding color and stuff and it doesn't look good, that you're failing. I cannot tell you how many times I go to add stuff like this to my own project and I'm like, I hate it.
Yeah.
You know, like it happens as you make your way through your project.
Sure. I just find that honestly, like taking a step away from it for a day or for even a couple hours, sometimes I get illustration aside, like any project I get in, I have to just walk away for a little bit. And then I come back, I'm like, oh, duh. That's something that maybe looks a little better than I thought. And so sometimes just ripping your hair out over the wrong color or the wrong choice is not the move. It's just take a break. Come back to it.
Just ain't nothing but a thing.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
But a chicken wing on the mushroom roof.
Yes. Another thing, I don't know if blue is a good color for this. I feel like we maybe need like a gray or blue, but we can start to add like some smoke coming out of some smoky smoke. Yes, indeed. And one thing that we can do too is we can, let's see, I wonder if we could, if I remember how to do this one thing. I don't know if I remember how to do this one tiny thing I wanted to do, but that's okay. I'm gonna put some like little tiny cloud bits into here. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna clip and I'll grab my brush and I'm gonna put like some darker points here so that this looks kind of like 3D-ish. That'll work for me. And then we're gonna make some like little roundy bits that we are going to make flutter around so that it looks like clouds or smoke puffing, because I want it to move, but I don't want to go into like making everything like ripple like with this big part of the smoke. So if I want to come in with this, let's grab like a lighter color. Let's go for this like lighter blue that's like kind of, you know, let's make like a little piece of that right there. And then I'm gonna do this on a path and I'm gonna do something like that. Oh, cool. Maybe we'll actually, let's hit this X on here. Let's do like a little thing that like loops around. And let's add multiples so we can add more. And let's scatter them. Maybe not that crazy. Maybe not that many. Let's do sway and let's add grow and shrink. And let's make it grow and shrink a lot. Maybe we want it to get really small.
That's so cool.
Something that's interesting. We could do something like that. And I think, honestly, I'm not sure if the path that I chose here will work. I wonder if, let's try this instead. And this is something that you kind of have to do, like, as you go through all this, is like all the little tiny pieces that I'm adding. Is it going to work? And I think what I'd like to do is, let's hide that layer. Let's make another layer. And I think I'm going to add like a little tiny like piece right here, like at the chimney. So let's make it like come up out of the chimney. Maybe something a little more round. And I'm going to have that path come in directly from there to make it look like it's going out of. So let's do another path. Go back into path animation and let's have it follow the shape and we'll end. So we won't actually have it loop. I don't want it to come back around.
Okay.
And let's add more than one. And let's scatter them a little bit, maybe a tiny bit. We'll add grow and shrink. Get a big percentage.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
there we go.
Yeah, sweet.
And what we might do is see if we can cut part of the chimney really to put over the top so that they're not coming out from on top of the chimney like it looks like. We could also sway it. Maybe, yeah, the swaying might work. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and come into our chimney here. Let's open this, and I'm gonna actually merge this. Let's go merge layers and group. And I'm going to, with my lasso tool, I'm gonna select this. And I'm going to duplicate it, duplicate selection. And I'm gonna snag that and bring this and make sure it sits on top of our little smoke stuff. And let's see how that works. So it looks like it's coming out from behind.
Oh, that's cool.
There's gonna be, I think I added the sway, and so it looks a little bit awkward with the sway on it. But let's turn the sway off because I want it to come up from there so it doesn't intersect. It still kind of intersects. I think that's probably the scatter that's doing that actually. Let's turn the scatter down. Yeah, so now it kind of looks like it just comes up out of there. We can add more. We could do the same thing behind if we wanted to with like a darker, let's grab some of this dark, not with our lasso, with our brush tool. We could grab some of this darker blue and we could do the same thing coming from behind our layer here. And we could add a path.
It's like our little rooster chicken crow guys birthing some eggs out the mushroom chimney right now.
Yeah. And we can, I want to do grow and shrink on that because I like the grow and shrink. And then I wonder if it would look good if we actually turned the opacity down on this. Like if that would make it, it's a little uniform. It's a little uniform for my taste. But I mean, you could see how you could really get in there and start to alter and make some pretty cool stuff if you wanted to. I think that it needs some work as far as making things look like it's not. See if I scatter it a little more, that actually doesn't look so bad. Maybe a little more opacity on that. But I just kind of tinker with things and try to make it look, use the tools that I have to my advantage and make it look a little organic.
Now, if you were going to, let's say you decided not to do those path animations and you just kept the smoke that you already have and you just wanted that to move ever so subtly.
Honestly, let's see. Oh, go ahead. Finish your question. Sorry.
So
immediately was like, oh, what would I do?
Yeah, no, go. That was my question, just to see if it feels like it fits with Terrence down there and our bird.
I think what I would do probably is I would maybe, if I turn this off, let's go ahead and make sure that I'm not hidden on that. I would probably use the Liquify and not actually change and paint over it after the Liquify because it's pretty amorphous. So if I wanted to add this, I could do, let's go ahead and duplicate the layer, duplicate frame. And then I would here, let's go ahead and transform just this frame because the Liquify is crazy. The Liquify could be pretty, ooh, that's really big. The Liquify could be used to make some pretty organic shapes. So if I wanted to like really make these pieces wiggly, like it's really coming out of here, I could do something like this and kind of start moving things. And I don't know, it'd be probably a little weird, but you could see how you could like build like kind of amorphous smoke and do that with Liquify. I think cool. Liquify is your friend, to be honest, as you do the animations and things. And this is going to look wonky as heck. I'm just going to let you know that because I'm not putting in any real effort into kind of shaping the smoke. But just as an idea, if we wanted to do something like that, you could probably come in here and do some more organic shapes, like making that that smoke billow out of there in a more interesting way. So
that's such a, I feel like Liquify as a tool, I would never think Liquify would be used as such an important tool in Fresco like this to animate these things. But really, after seeing what you've done with these 3 objects here, it seems like a pretty essential part of Fresco for animation to create all these different kinds of effects, because that in essence is sort of your keyframe tool, because you're taking something and moving it and then moving it again over the course of a frame or two.
And I think that it's you start to noodle with things, and I think that if you get in, if you want to do, like you or anybody in the chat, if you guys want to do animation in Fresco, I highly recommend like experimenting with stuff, and because I came to some of the conclusions about what I could use some of the tools with just out of necessity of like, how am I going to make this? And I'm not like a major animator, really. I some of that stuff, the reason why I love Fresco so much is because some of the animation tools that I think are accepted as like standard tools, they kind of escape me a little bit. I'm not really animation minded for that, which is why I like this, or I like using the timeline in Photoshop, because if I want to make it look like this guy's sitting in water, I can come in here and just add little wiggly lines and repaint them a few times instead of going in and doing the other stuff where I feel maybe a little more out of my depth, so to speak. It works with my illustration style. So jump in and experiment, because you might find that this really works for you.
Yeah. That's a big point, Val, too. And for those in the chat, for those that are watching on YouTube, that's the whole Creative Cloud suite allows you to, just kind of pick and choose which programs work for your workflow and your style. And I don't think it's limited to just one thing. If anything, it just opens up the ability to, if you want to do everything in Fresco like you're doing here today, you can absolutely do that, and it works with your style. If you felt like you're the type of person that works in Photoshop or Fresco and then moves into After Effects, that's possible too. So the power is endless of how you can, start and finish a project.
And I think like you said, you were maybe going to be doing like a similar kind of animation stream possibly next week. I would love, like I said, still, even though, maybe I don't use After Effects or any of the other programs that you might use to do something, like always seeing another way to do it. I think even if you're not going to use those tools, being exposed to a different workflow and watching somebody create it and learning how somebody else's brain works as they're solving similar problems is always super useful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but that's what's so amazing about this community is that every time I'm on here hosting someone, every time I'm watching a video on here, I'm learning something new in a new program, or even if it's a program that I'm familiar with and confident in, I learn a new way how to do something that I'm used to doing. I love that. That looks awesome.
A little more. And like I said, I think, we worked for an hour and a half, and I think that the illustration styles for some of the different elements here, like our crow and the house and maybe some other things, like it kind of needs to be tweaked. It needs to be cleaned up. I need to make it look a lot more cohesive and stuff. But we have like smoke billowing. We have our little frog bobbing up and down. We have a crow that's like kind of dancing on top of our house. We've got motion lines, so it looks like there's water where the water is, and those are all like pretty simple, tiny little things that you can do, but when combined, you can start to bring a painting to life. So absolutely. I think that's probably what I would do after the stream, is now that I have kind of stuff plugged in, I might go back into my individual layers and start really cleaning up the look, like the visual illustration elements, so that everything looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think what you did in an hour and a half, not even a full hour and a half, really like an hour to animate, maybe a little less, is impressive. And I think I can see the eyes even inside the mushroom, like starting to blink or something, like bringing that in. If we didn't run out of time, but it's awesome. It's awesome to see the process. Again, a program that I am unfamiliar with, and it seems like it's something that I'm really going to want to try and hop in there. I hope everyone in the chat and everyone watching this video feels as inspired as I do, because this was a lot of fun. I knew it would be, but it was a blast.
Well, I'm glad you had a blast. Also, one last thing, I see Bruce says if is using this less intimidating than bigger apps. For my personal workflow, way less intimidating for me. So just in case that's true for you too, I would test it out. But we're probably coming to the end of our time here today, huh?
Yeah, I think we're about to wrap it up here. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
close out with a few things. Again, Val, thank you so much for taking the time here, and you're such a big part of this community, and it's amazing to see you in action. And again, I'm super inspired, so I'm gonna hop
Thank
into
you.
Fresco at some point this week. And thank you to those that are watching. As I mentioned earlier, make sure to subscribe to the Adobe Live YouTube channel. And stay tuned and join Photoshop for Artists series in our second episode of the Adobe evangelist Kyle T. Webster's new Photoshop series. He covers the very important tools and steps required for moving and transforming active selections. And again, as I said, there's an abundance of resources on the Adobe Live YouTube channel and here on Behance. So just stay inspired, keep working. And as I mentioned earlier today, if you do want to be nominated, you want to nominate yourself for a chance to be on Adobe Live, please do that over on Behance. And Val, thank you again. I
My
will
pleasure.
hopefully see you on here again very soon.
Absolutely. Adios, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.